Take two. Cut.
Take two.
I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Right, follow me with this.
But they've been using their power to obstruct and stop justice from taking place.
You want to pray us out?
I do.
We'll pray for Tina. And let's have conversations about what truth is. I was trying to get this stuff done for the... oh, there we go.
There you are, Joe. Happy Friday, everyone, and specifically you. Yeah, I'm talking to you specifically, right there through the other side of the screen. You know who you are. Especially a happy Friday to you individually and not anyone else, only you. We have a bit of a slow news day today, Joe. It's not exactly the most thrilling day, but there are a couple of very retarded things that I think are very important to talk about. Retarded to a level like never seen before, as well as some big updates when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard and some of the things that she is now proving when it comes to Obama intentionally manufacturing the Russiagate hoax, as well as multiple other hoaxes. We all knew it was a plan. We all knew what really happened. But now we don't only know that, who's behind it and why they decided to do it. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into the first video, which is, of course, the Babylon Bee made a Hitler video. And I think it's probably one of the, a lot of people were praising it. I think it's one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. The idea that liberals and Hitler, it's just, there's nothing in common between anyone really and Hitler. There's no political commonplace between liberals or conservatives and Hitler. There just isn't.
So are you saying, do you don't think that the things that they said about sharing values are actually, core tenets for Hitler?
Not at all. I honestly think, I think it's just, they're just trying to play on this idea. There are some core tendencies, communism, whatever, but the idea that liberals and Hitler, or even conservatives and Hitler, have pretty much anything in common in terms of policy is remarkably false, to the point that I think this is being done to try to get, I think, if you want to know my honest opinion, I think this is a broader psyop to try to get people to want to fund Israel's wars more. And I know it sounds stupid and crazy.
Yeah. So tell me how. Tell me. I'm curious because when I saw it, knowing what I know about Hitler specifically, and the fact that he did believe in eugenics and he thought that you get rid of people, and that's the whole idea behind Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger. And then you start talking about some of the other things related to, the National Socialist Workers' Party, which means Nazi. That's actually true. And then you talk about, gun rights and restricting those rights. He wanted to restrict the undesirables from having access to guns. So if you walk through each one of the things that's said, I thought it was quite clever that if you draw the similarities, there's more similarities, if not almost. Obviously there's more complexities to this. Killing 6 million Jews. At the very end of the video, it talks about the painting and a world without Jews, and that now you have liberals that say that they like Jews but don't like Jews. It's a crazy kind of paradigm shift, but ultimately I think it exposes something that people need to pay attention to, and that is the psyop isn't creating enough confusion that nobody can see it, and nobody can see what is up, what's down, and I think that going back in time and looking at Hitler specifically, I think they did a brilliant job. From my standpoint.
Yeah, and there are definitely similarities, but if we're being honest, you could also draw similarities between modern day Republicans and Hitler as well. If you want to look at certain social issues that were supported, like, Hitler built roads, Republicans want to build roads. You can find, if you want to, we can find pretty much any historical leader and find some similarities. But at the end of the day, Hitler also, like you said, pushed that. He also pushed policies that were designed specifically around certain groups of people having specific powers, and we can have a whole episode just talking about that. But at the end of the day, the idea, there's a comparison. Liberals like abortion, and Hitler liked killing people.
But Hitler actually believed in. He didn't just believe in killing people, right? He believed in eugenics. Like he believed that people under the right of reproductive rights, giving someone a right, would take away your ability to have babies, that you would choose that as a convenience over having a child. So there's a whole litany of writings that Hitler did himself that closely align with some of the things that have been given to Black or brown people specifically, that is closely related to what is happening today on the left. And you could argue, yeah, the roads, and you could even argue that some Republicans are just dirtbags and would closely align with some of the things that Hitler does. But there is a sense of projection that is happening in our country, where they're saying the Republicans are this, using dog whistles, when the similarities of just all the bad stuff closely align with leftists. Like it's pretty obvious. And the Babylon Bee, I think they're going to get canceled for it, but I thought it was a brilliant way to look at it. There's another part of this that Matt is problematic for me, and that is 40 million Russians died. They say 6 million Jews, but I can't actually draw a line from 6 million Jews dying and the historical data that shows here's the census of how many Jews there were before the war, and it's almost identical. So unless 6 million Jews were born in that 8-year period, there's not a good argument. There's an argument for the 271,000. There's an argument for the bodies that were found, but there's not an argument for 6 million Jews dying, right? And so there isn't. I mean, there isn't facts to back that up. I'm sorry, there's not. There's not evidence to show that 6 million Jews died. There's evidence to show that Jews died, right? But there's also evidence to show that 40 million Russians died. And yet we don't seem to think that that's a big enough sacrifice for the United States when they were our ally in World War II, that we can give as much credence to the fact that they gave up their lives as we gave, as Jews did in a region that had nothing to do with the United States.
Well, and fundamentally, Hitler, the main core of his belief system and his governing style was the idea that the German people, ethnically German people, were superior than other groups of people, whether it be IQ or social status or whatever the reasoning was. That was what he fundamentally believed. And even though some of the methods they used to enact those fundamental beliefs may be similar, liberals and Nazis fundamentally believe very different things, just as conservatives, aka Republicans and Nazis, fundamentally believe different things. So I think we'll watch the video, but in my opinion, it's nitpicking rather than talking about the fundamental beliefs, nitpicking the ways those beliefs were enacted and drawing comparisons that are, I think, kind of stupid. I mean, I love making fun of liberals. Don't get me wrong. They all suck. They're all evil for the most part. Not all of them, but a huge percent of them are evil. They want really bad things to happen, and they're trying to hurt our country.
Hold on, there's
I'm all for that, but I just think the way they did it was very low IQ and faulty. That's all I'm saying.
Let's let everybody decide if they watch it. Let's go and play it.
Sehr gut. Sehr gut.
Whoa, guys.
I'm a time traveler from the year 2025, and I've come here to kill you, Hitler.
Oh, not again. I'm never gonna have enough time to finish these paintings with all of these time travelers trying to kill me.
Well, I'm going to succeed.
Before you pull the trigger, can I just ask why? Why do all of you people want to kill me?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a progressive, a liberal, a fighter for social justice. And you are a fascist who implemented a reign of terror. And while the effects of your policies devastated the world for decades, soon we will be able to take back the White House, and we will be able to use the government to force people to follow our great ideas.
You want to use government power to force your ideas on the populace. Me too! That's fantastic!
What? No. Ugh. You and I have nothing in common. What I'm saying is there are people in our time with dangerous ideas, and we need to silence them.
Silencing those who disagree with you. I do that too! Oh, wunderbar! Oh, the Nazi movement will not die with me.
Don't give me that! I'm enlightened, and you're as bad as... well, as Hitler. Listen, What I'm trying to say is we are very close to implementing a utopia, as long as we can get rid of some certain undesirable people groups.
Yes, like the Jews.
Yes, like the Jews. Oh.
So, in the future,
Oh.
you also do not like the Jews?
Well, no. But we don't believe in segregating all the races like you do. I mean, except for like graduation ceremonies. In dorms. And hiring practices. Oh, and admissions policies. That sort of thing.
I, too, am a fan of the segregation. I'm sorry, I have to ask, is this a real firearm or is this some kind of toy for kinder?
It's a flare gun. I'm trying not to support America's toxic gun culture. I'm a firm believer in gun control.
Gun control! This was one of my ideas too. Ban them from the undesirables. Yes, look here. Oh, and your shirt. This is an organization founded by Margaret Sanger. Yes?
Wait, you know about Margaret Sanger?
Jawohl, of course. Oh, she's such a lovely person.
No. She's a fighter for reproductive rights, for women's empowerment,
And the eradication of undesirable populations by means of eugenics. Brilliant lady, very inspiring. I must use some of her ideas in our socialized healthcare system.
socialized healthcare. That's not your thing. That's our thing.
No, it's very much my thing. Did you know that Nazi means National Socialist German Workers' Party? Nazi is just more catchy. Nazi. Just rolls off the tongue.
No. This can't be true. This has to be some sort of mistake. We are nothing alike. You're Adolf Hitler, evil right-wing fascist dictator, and I'm a feminist restorative justice advocate. And a vegetarian.
You're a vegetarian? Me too!
Okay, I am so confused right now. I came here with a clear goal in mind to kill the most evil man who I've ever lived. Besides Ronald Reagan. But now that I'm meeting you in person, you're not at all what I thought you were. And your painting is actually really good. What do you call it?
I call it Ein Reich ohne Juden.
Wow. I don't know what that means, but it sounds beautiful.
It does, doesn't it?
Credit due to Babylon B. We played this in its entirety because we are now criticizing it, or not criticizing it. I guess it could be the other way to look at this, but he was factually correct. Like what he said is factually correct. Every part of it. And except for the part about an empire without Jews. I don't believe that anyone holistically hates Jews. I think it's the people that do really bad things that are the faithless, godless, atheists that people have an issue with. But unfortunately, they're the ones in power and authority around the country.
Yeah, and it is true that there are a lot of liberals that vehemently hate Jewish people today, but that is a small percent of the people. And the majority of people in the Democrat Party are not only pro-Jewish, but pro-Jewish to the point that they actually sometimes don't even care about Christians enough. And they sometimes don't care about other groups of people enough. So there is kind of this whole idea that liberals are this, conservatives are that. But at the end of the day, I think that's, it's great comedy. There's some funny, good points in there that I thought were fair. But at the same time, I do have just a critical opinion in general, because the Babylon Bee is founded by people who are very pro-war and who are friends with people who own these big companies. If you look at their connections, if you look at who they are, these are people that I believe are not good individuals when it comes to their overall. I mean, they're funny. I like some of them, but I think some of them are also overall very bad for the vision of America and for how we actually spend our money, what we prioritize. So I'm extra critical of the Babylon Bee. I mean, I do respect that they're willing to talk about topics like this and that they're willing to put the time and effort into making fun of it, even if it's politically incorrect. But I just can't sit back without saying my true opinion on that, because I know what's really happening. And if you are paying attention to who's doing it and why they're doing it, then you can see the same thing as well.
Well, I mean, he does. The owner of Babylon B identifies himself as a Christian conservative and one that's willing to criticize Jews, which means he's not a Zionist, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't have as much to say about the Babylon Bee because I just see some of their articles that they put out there that are satirical, but a lot of people have a problem with it. You know, Candace Owens had something to say about him. Elon Musk has said something about him and then shares his stuff. So it's like it's almost as if people are bipolar in their criticism of the Babylon Bee. And I suppose two things can be true at the same time. That Hitler is in a class all of himself, although you could argue that there are other people that were during that time that were diabolical maniacs as well. Stalin was not a Boy Scout.
Yeah, and so I do want to actually pull up some Seth Dillon tweets, because you're right, he does portray himself as that. But here are some things that he has said publicly. So he said, he quote tweeted someone who said, "I'm pro-Palestine, anti-Hamas. It's not that hard." And Seth said, "Is Palestine anti-Hamas?" question mark, which is basically justifying killing people there because they're not all anti-Hamas. That's basically what he was doing. He was justifying. You can call it a genocide, whatever you want to call it. I know it's a left talking point, whatever, but that is essentially what's happening. Then,
you mean against the Jewish people or against the Palestinians?
So Seth's comment was saying that the Palestinian people are largely pro-Hamas. That's what he was implying. Therefore, killing them is justified. That was the implication of the tweet that he made on November 23rd. On the 18th of November 2023. So that was the post he made. Then on the 9th of October 2023, he said if he was referring to Hamas, then he was too kind. After Ilhan Omar tweeted, the Israeli defense minister has called Palestinians human animals and promised to cut off electricity, all food, and fuel to civilians in Gaza. In that case, he was justifying cutting off all aid to the people there, basically calling them Hamas. I mean, he does it in a clever way. He doesn't say it directly, but that's what he was clearly implying with that. Then he says, it's hard to deny you support Hamas when you're on video chanting resistance is justified. And then there's another one. Can you tell he'd be a friend of Hamas from his bio? And the bio says, pro-democracy, anti-fascism, gay. The GOP is a fascist Nazi cult. If you like my tweets, subscribe to the newsletter. And is a quote tweet from, because killing innocent civilians makes you a terrorist yourself. So there's just a few tweets. There's a bunch more. That was what I was referring to. I mean, I think Seth overall is not a bad individual when it comes to most of the things he puts out there, but some of them I do think are because of who he has connections with and the fact that he wants the military industrial complex to continue as a result of those connections.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's universal to both parties, the Republicans and Democrats. I think that both of them are equally culpable in the behavior that's happened in Congress. Nobody is standing up. I mean, unless you're talking about Thomas Massey or Rand Paul or one of those guys. I mean, most of them are pretty aligned with their attitudes or behaviors directly related to wars all over the world. I mean, Ukraine, it's universal. Go look for the Ukrainian flag. It's on 80% of Republicans and Democrats, a lot of bot accounts, right? And I was the one that stepped out and said, no, you can't support Ukraine. I will be on the side of Russia every day, twice on Sunday. And now it's come full circle. We all went through the thing where we don't support Ukraine, and now we don't support Ukraine, and now the president supported Ukraine, and we're all blowing our brains out going, what is happening here? Like, what are we really dealing with? I mean, how does this all square? Because it doesn't. But and just to say this, the Azov battalion in Ukraine is a Nazi battalion. It represents over 25% of the fighting forces in Ukraine, and not the ones on the front line, though. That meat grinder is reserved for just everyday citizens that they snatch up off the street in Ukraine. And again, we stopped talking about that pretty regularly as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's fun to be able to make fun of things and laugh about it. So we'll just, I guess we'll leave it there. We don't need to keep talking about the Babylon Bee video. I will say, if you're going to watch Babylon Bee stuff, just take it with a grain of salt and understand that there are almost certainly in most of their pieces of content some sort of ulterior motivation that may not necessarily be aligned with conservative values or anti-war values.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, it is kind of a slow day, but it's not a slow day. Tulsi Gabbard had a bunch of stuff to say today. And this is pretty serious stuff. This is Obama administration manufactured intelligence to create 2016 Russian interference narrative, documents show. And the reason why this is so powerful is that if you go to the top, it says there was a treasonous conspiracy in 2016 committed by officials at the highest level of government. Gabbard said treason. So what is the result for treason? What is the consequence for treason? Up to and including?
It may involve a rope, but let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I talked about this stuff way back in 2020, and I said, look, build the gallows from coast to coast, because it's not a victimless crime. And what they've done is not a victimless crime. That's got me canceled from pretty much everywhere. And pundits that got out there and said, oh, Joe wants to kill Biden, which is not true. I don't want to kill anybody. But the Obama administration, based on the information that the ODNI, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, declassified these documents that overwhelmingly demonstrates how President Trump won the 2016 election against Hillary Clinton. And then Barack Obama, the then president, national security team, laid the groundwork for what they called years-long Russian collusion probe. So they created something out of nowhere that didn't exist. They lied. And the documents reveal that in the months leading up to November 2016 election, the intelligence community consistently assessed that Russia was probably not trying to influence the election by using cyber means. Which, how would they have been able to do that anyway if we had safe and secure election systems? Which we found out now that if you go back to Mongolia and some other countries around the world, we had been stealing. Look at Argentina, Venezuela. We've been stealing elections all over the world, and then we brought that home to roost. We use that same stuff, and now we've literally eroded the trust of Americans and taken away the voice of Americans all over the country.
Yep. And the fact that Obama, he literally wrote it on the wall what his plan was. He said, we have it on video, that he's going to pull the strings from behind the scenes. He's going to be the one that is really controlling presidencies from then on. He can do the work that he, quote, likes, and then not have to do the ceremonial stuff, which he indicated that he doesn't like. So we're not being conspiracy theorists to say Obama controlled it. Now, not only do we have proof, we have evidence showing that he was the one who manufactured that, but we also now know that he was controlling a lot of the Obama administration decisions, and therefore is responsible for 10 million illegal immigrants partially coming in. He's responsible for adding 8 trillion more in debt when we were already suffering significantly at an economic level as a country. He's responsible for making it more adaptable for transgender individuals to play sports with the opposite sex. He's responsible for the laws that they put in place across the board. And if he's not fully responsible, he's at the very least partially responsible. And that is why I believe Obama is one of the worst people in terms of the influence he's had on American politics in the history of our country.
All right, so now I'm going to put something out there that should blow your mind based on what you're saying. This report, go ahead and put the report up next to us if you would, so we can walk through this. And have you read this report yet, Matt? Have you gone through this report?
Which one? The one, the declassified, declassified report on Obama. Yeah, so I've read through part of it, and I specifically was shocked by the level of brazenness, because how do you do this without getting caught? How do you do this not thinking that there's going to be consequences against you? And there probably won't be, to be fair, but there absolutely should be. And maybe we'll be able to, at some point in time, have an administration in that position and a Congress along with that will be able to go legally against these crimes. That's what they are.
Okay, so let me just, if you get into it, the biggest part about that, the meat of this actually points to state actors that are inside the United States. This is probably the best evidence we have about the fact that Dominion voting systems, ES&S, Smartmatic, and actors within those organizations did things to take away the voice of the American people, not just in the United States, but around the world. So if you look at the first page, it goes through and says, we assess the Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. elections, resulting in conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. Russian government affiliate actors most likely compromised an Illinois voter registration database and unsuccessfully attempted the same in other states. Election monitoring and the type of systems targeted infrastructure not used to cast or count votes, making it highly unlikely it would be results of altering any state official vote result. So it goes through here and it talks about the moderate to low to moderate confidence at the very bottom of page 1 in the Russian government involvement because of the uncertainty about it, the utility for a state actor, lack of observed efforts from a low profile operation, and the actor's use of obfuscation techniques, which include a substantial overlap in criminal actors using similar targeting patterns and tactics. The activities did coincide with high-profile Russian cyber-enabled data leaks during the election, which we assess probably were intended to cause psychological effects, such as undermining the credibility of the election process and candidates. So the further you get into it, and you talk about on November 8th, the cyber criminal actor posed screenshots of information on Twitter resembling vote results from Alaska state election websites and claimed to have administrative access to the website. The actor successfully but fraudulently access was resolved that day, and there was no evidence of altered vote results. However, the FBI continues to investigate the incident. The more you go through this thing and the redactions that are there and what the redactions are, if you read it, it reads as a playbook of where the actual problems existed in 2020 and 2016. So you could see what they did in 2016. You could see the similarities of what happened in 2020. You could see the fact that you have an EMS system and that you had programs that were on the Dominion and ES&S specifically. Those are the ones that I have the most knowledge of that allowed for them to alter votes, alter information, and then get out as if they never existed. Those things happened at a state level, at a inside the state, inside the country level. Those had to be perpetrated by people inside of the organizations that were actually administering the elections. And so the more you go through this, it points to that. Now, if you get to page 4, almost the entire thing is redacted. It's declassified except for state, NSA, DIA, state, NSA, FBI. And the more you get down to the emails that were actually sent, all of those emails, and maybe put it up there, are redacted. Yeah, we've so received response from CIA, NIC, NGA, FBI. NGA is a really good organization we should probably talk about at some point. And most of the emails all the way down are redacted. All redacted. All redacted. Even the people that actually received them. And then you have the summary of conclusion, which happened near the bottom of the document, that the summary of conclusions was agreed that principals agreed to deny Russia the use of its residential and recreational compound at Pioneer Point, Chesapeake Bay. Principals also recommended, pending the views of the U.S. mission to the United Nations and legal review, denying Russia and the use of his residential and recreational compound in Glen Cove, New York. The Department of State noted its preference that any action taken on the compound be delayed to, among other things, allowing for potential agreement on LAPO to be implemented. State will also provide a matrix of possible Russian responses, both operationally and diplomatically, to the closure of the compounds. State of December 13th, 2016. So this is 2016 from a system standpoint. There's a lot of things to be taken from this that you can apply to the 2020 election. And more importantly, that can be applied to 2022 and 2024 at a state level, state by state, across the entire country. This would be kind of a raising document that if you were to use this, if President Trump were to use this, he could use the correlations to this if he had any data guy that was worth an ounce of salt that could show you, based on the information that we have in 2020, 2022, and 2024, that the election systems that we have in the United States is absolutely compromised, and that the mail-in ballot system itself is the fraudulent system by which they administer those elections. I rest my case.
Yeah, there's no doubt at all. And the more you look into it, the more you realize that each one of these documents is classified for a reason. It looked almost like abstract art. They don't want you to see what they don't want you to see. We're going to be fed little bits and pieces of this by people who we're supposed to be trusting, but I still think it's all an inside game. It's all rigged to the point that even the election fraud that we know exists, we are not going to be able to have anything from them that proves it. We will have to go and get it ourselves. I don't see any other way to expose it. We literally have to either infiltrate the government by winning races with people who are on our side in a position that are going to be able to then get access to these documents, and they may have to be a whistleblower. That's one possibility. The other possibility is somehow finding a way to convince people that are already there. I don't think that's going to happen. So, I mean, there's really where we keep hitting brick walls here. Every single time we try to do something, we hit a brick wall. Now, I do wonder, how many more documents are there that show this that we're not ever going to see? I think that's the biggest question. Now, I guess we can go ahead and use that to transition into the sponsor of the day, which is AMAC. Now, we partnered with AMAC. Association of Mature Citizens is what they're called. And the reason why we did that is twofold. Number one, right now, AARP has consistently pushed liberal far left values. They are not on your side. And so to have an alternative to that, that caters to our values, that cares about us, that wants to actually promote things that we agree with and allows your voice to be heard is absolutely massive. And that is why with AMAC, you have an opportunity not only to get a bunch of discounts, you have an opportunity to see benefits similar to AARP without having to have all of the downsides. So, I mean, Joe, if you want to keep explaining it, this is really one of the things that I think is going to probably be used a lot over the next year. A lot of people are going to switch over from AARP to AMAC.
Yeah, I mean, it's an organization that has a PAC associated with it as well that'll fight for the rights of Americans, conservative Americans. And you don't have to be 60 years old in order to sign up for the organization. It is free. They don't take credit card information, and frankly, there's a lot of benefits to be taken from it. So, including insurances and rental cars and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's great, and we picked up the tab for it. So, pick it up for a year. If it works, great. Sign up for it after that. If it doesn't work and you don't want to support conservative basis for it, you can just walk away from it. So it's not there's no obligation to it. And I think it's a good add-on for the people, I think.
And even if you're not a senior, the idea of this, as well as all the benefits from the discounts that you get, so you can literally, because we negotiated it for you, most people don't get this, you can get a year for free of all these discounts, and you can get access to it and then join if you want to afterwards. But you don't even have to be a certain age to do it. Anyone can do it. I've done it. I'm enjoying the discounts. It's absolutely wonderful. So everyone needs to go ahead and do that. Very important. But you can see as well, we're going to go ahead and put up a tweet. So a truth from Trump. Now, this is finally him starting to capitulate, I guess. Is that what we want to call it? I mean, supposedly all the pressure from the Epstein files has made Trump open his eyes, and now he's ready to finally come around. So he says, I'm still a little skeptical, but go ahead and put up C1. I don't necessarily love the way that he says this, but it is still absolutely true. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here, and then I can read it directly word for word. Based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam perpetrated by Democrats should end right now. Yeah, that's frustrating for two reasons. Number one, he's like, oh, even though I campaigned on it for months, that was one of the main reasons I got elected, at least 10% of the reason I got elected, according to some people's opinions. I would happen to agree with that, maybe even be higher than that. Even though I did all that, now it's just ridiculous. I gave it a bunch of publicity, but now it's ridiculous. That's getting more publicity. That's just crazy. So reluctantly, I'm going to put this Democrat scam to bed, even though Democrats actually more prominently involved in the Epstein files than Republicans. So people claiming he's playing 3D chess. I don't know if that's true. What I do know is that at the end of the day, Trump was only going to release what is not going to get people who are on his donor list in trouble. So these files, I'm excited to see them. I think there will be important stuff in there. But unless it's followed by investigations, and unless it's broad sweeping for anyone who had any involvement whatsoever with the island and on his plane, then it's not going to be enough.
Well, I kind of agree. I agree with you. I don't kind of agree with you. I agree with you on this. I agree. I agree with you with the concept of getting access to information, especially the grand jury testimony that they can release. My problem is not that President Trump is releasing it, nor my problem that he fought against it. My issue is that I was never anti-President Trump. But if I'm not allowed to question the decisions that are made, then my voice doesn't matter, which means I go right back to being a slave, which means it's an elitist environment. It's a game that we're not allowed to play in. You don't have a seat at the table. And that gets right back to the fact that our elections are stolen. And the more we have these conversations about what is going on in the future and what we plan on doing in order to get to from where we are to a place where we have a secure future, the more unlikely we are to get there because we don't address the problems. And this report for the ODNI, I look at it. I look at the Gabbard report and what was declassified. And then I look at the stuff with Epstein. And I look at the conversations that we have about the open borders and solving small wins. Right? Closing the borders is small wins. You know what that win was? That win was we're not going to go to civil war. But to look at this from the perspective that somewhere along the line, we're ungrateful. Like I'm not ungrateful. I don't think the people are ungrateful for the sacrifices that President Trump made. What we're ungrateful for is not having a seat at the table and telling you what's important. And you seeing it from the perspective of sitting on a perch and not seeing it from the perspective of how many American lives have been lost over the last 5 years. What have these people done? And why has not one person been arrested? And when you start talking about a pedophile and letting all these pedophiles off the hook, you know, that's not a hoax for me. It's not a hoax for me. And frankly, two things can be true at the same time. I can support President Trump and I can be madly pissed off at the fact that somewhere along the line I got pushed in a corner and said, shut up, sit down, we'll handle it for you. Because that's exactly what they did in every state related to our elections. And that's exactly what they've done in pushing tax down on us and violating the Constitution while even the clowns at every level of the judiciary tells us we don't know what we're talking about, which is bullshit.
Well, it's total bullshit. And we also have a tweet from Anna Paulina Luna, if we want to go ahead and throw that up on the screen. So this one, people were pointing out, had a little bit of weird verbiage because Anna Paulina Luna has not been afraid to say her opinion on this. So she says, thank you to AG Pam Bondi and Pam Bondi, tagging both their accounts, same person, obviously. While others, one of them are official government account, one of them are personal account. So obviously she doesn't have a line of communication open to her and wants to make sure that she sees this. While others were busy trying to knife the president, this was quietly in the works behind the scenes. I can say with full confidence, this is the most transparent administration in U.S. history. Now, the real question, will any reporters finally cover the FBI destruction of the Epstein evidence under the former deputy director of the FBI during the Biden administration? Enjoy phase 3. It's going to be the coup d'etat. So basically...
Does she even know what coup d'etat means? Does she even know what coup d'etat means?
I would be willing to bet not.
I mean, does everybody understand what coup d'etat means? How does this say it's going to be the coup d'etat? How could phase 3 be the coup d'etat? Tell me what would cause it to be the coup d'etat, and who's the coup d'etat against, right? Because that implies that somewhere along the line we have to take something back. So what are we taking back? What are we taking back, Matt? What exactly are we supposed to take back? Are we supposed to take back the government that you're actually in charge of? And by the way, you talk to any senator or any congressman anywhere across the board, and they'll all tell you the same thing. I don't trust the government. Well, you are the government. And we're supposed to trust you when you don't trust the apparatus below you and you have more clarity beyond. And by the way, if this was happening behind the scenes, and this is what she said, let me just say this. If it was happening behind the scenes, and I can say with full confidence, the most transparent administration in U.S. history, it couldn't have been transparent if it was happening behind the scenes and we couldn't see it. So one of the reasons why we're pissed off is that we can't see what's going on. You tell us it's transparent. This is the most transparent administration in U.S. history. It's just it's more grandstanding upon stuff where they absolutely don't. I don't know who's writing this, but if she's writing it, she's the most unarticulate person that I think I've met thus far.
Don't hold back. Say how you really feel, Joe. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, look, Anna Paulina Luna supposedly, supposedly her dad has ties to Mossad. If I'm wrong about that, let me know. There are rumors circulating about that. Her mom, Hispanic, her dad, supposedly because of his connections to the Israeli government, did have some ties to Mossad. I don't know the extent of that. There's no real evidence of it. As of right now, it's just rumors. But I will say, based on some of the things she says, it does seem like there's a push and pull in her mind. Because Anna Paulina Luna, I believe, is a good person. I really believe that. I don't say that about most people in Congress, including most people who are supposedly on our side, and even many people who purport to believe some of the same crazy things that we know to be true. But in this case, Anna Paulina Luna in that tweet seems to be trying to bounce back and forth between the truth, which is that we need to go fully after these people and expose the cover-up, expose what the Biden administration did, expose all of it, while also saying this is the most transparent administration. Meanwhile, it was only because we forced them to be by calling them out for being one of the least transparent administrations in the last week, number one. And number two, the Trump administration still isn't being fully transparent, not even close to that. So she's trying to get the PSYOP through, accept what we've been given, accept a little bit more they're planning to give us, and then just stop after that. And, we're not going to accept that. But you can also tell she knows that's wrong. Her training from a young age, if that claim is true, seems to be coming through at this point. Maybe that's why she was put in that position in the first place.
Yeah, look, I'm after seeing what I've seen on social media over the last little bit, the more unimpressed I am. You got Cat Turd being attacked by somebody else. You got this person. I mean, we can't get along with anyone, right? And what I'm saying is that what she said in that statement was absolutely ridiculous. And we don't even think about what we have to say anymore on the left or the right. And President Trump's out there trying to manage the circus. And since I've been in a business and have run companies where you have to manage the circus, and you have boat anchors that are everywhere that are trying to slow things down and creating a narrative that's just not true. And I don't believe that most of the people out there were attacking President Trump or attacking the policy that they saw in place. And I don't know Cat Turd. I can tell you right now that you got people that are attacking Tucker Carlson. You got people that are attacking Mike Flynn. You got people that are all these people are attacking. You know who they don't attack? They don't attack the people they need to attack, which is Dominion Voting Systems, Eric Coomer. He's responsible for the things that he's responsible for. And frankly, nobody actually even talks about the guy. Nobody talks about him. They talk about him and revering statute while you have people that are running resistance for him inside the judiciary. We have judges that are literally saying you can't have this information, or we're going to punish this guy. We're going to punish this guy. They're already paint dry, ink dry, sidewalk dry, creating a narrative that they know is fundamentally false. And my issue is that now we're fighting each other. Everyone's fighting each other. Like Angelina, whatever her name is, Luna, might be great. But here's the other thing. President Trump put out a post at 2108 or 2107 or 2106, whatever. At 806 or 906, depending on where you're at. And a minute later, you have one person putting something out in support of it. A minute later, you have somebody else putting it out. I mean, it was like bookending all the things that are being said in the media. And I think we need to get to a place where we're going to have authenticity, right? But the people that are authentic, the people that are actually telling the truth, those are the ones that get attacked. Those are the ones that basically pick apart and try to I just said that I want a gallows. They're going to take that again and say, oh, now Joe wants gallows for Obama. He wants to kill Obama. And I never even said it. So I think the ridiculousness that we face with this is that it's really simple. It doesn't need theater. We don't need theater. We don't need a daddy. We don't need to have this conversation over and over and over again. Just show us the damn files, right? Just show it to us. Don't do a folder and hold a folder up and show me Scott Pressler, and all of his gayness saying, oh, I have the Epstein files, right? Don't do it because it doesn't have any value to the American people. We just don't care anymore. We've gotten to the point where left or right, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And we're sitting here having the conversation about it where every single pundit out there has a different spin on it. And we're like, just tell us the truth. For once in your freaking life, as public officials, tell us the truth. But they can't. And they use AI to back it up. Machine learning, sorry.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they do. And why don't we lighten the mood a little bit? I think you should join me, Joe, in singing "Happy Birthday" if you would like to. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, hell no. Not on my.
No, we're not. No. Happy birthday. The reason why I just did that is because there's now a big news story of Donald Trump supposedly wishing Jeffrey Epstein a happy birthday. That's what they claim. They claim to have a letter. Now, the problem with that is Not a single person believes it, and Donald Trump is now suing them for claiming it to be true. The only evidence they have this is real is supposedly someone told them it was. They don't even actually have the real letter itself. They have a picture of it, I believe. And the letter doesn't even make any sense. And even if the letter was real, this was before Jeffrey Epstein was charged with anything. The whole point of Jeffrey Epstein was he was trying to cozy up to powerful, influential, and rich people in order to then get favors from them. That's all he did. And a lot of them did participate in the pedophilic activities, but some of them were just used by him and manipulated by him where they thought he was their friend. So there are both aspects to it. So even if it's real, I still have never seen a single shred of evidence that Donald Trump participated in activities with underage girls as a result of Epstein.
Because he didn't. And if you go back to 2007, 2008, FBI agents that were having conversations with news outlets stated that the only person on video and otherwise, the only person to fully cooperate with them and looking into Jeffrey Epstein, not just the first time, but the second time, because it was 2007 that he was banned from Mar-a-Lago, was President Trump. He says, I will give you as much time as you need, right? And here's the other thing about President Trump. He doesn't need to pay, and he doesn't need any favors to go sleep with a beautiful woman, right? The guy is charismatic. He can pull down anyone he wanted at any time. Even at his age right now, if he wasn't married to Melania, he could still pull down whatever woman he wanted. If he wanted to live that type of lifestyle, if he wanted to be have that type of character, right? And I'm not saying he didn't have the character where he slept with women when he was younger. I'm sure he did, right? Every man goes out and hunts when they're younger. Every man. Now, some make better decisions and some have God on their side sooner than others. Sooner or later, you find yourself in a place of mortality where you do realize that you're subjected to what God wants you to do, period. But to sit there and say that President Trump at any point participated in hurting a child, I 150,000%, I don't believe it could ever be true. Not even a single part of him would have fun or pleasure. I personally don't see an 18-year-old, even an 18-year-old, a girl that I could have a conversation with that I would have any desire. I mean, I'm married 23 years. So, but it just wouldn't be there. Like there's no, and I think President Trump shares the same thing. He wants to make sure that Epstein faced all the consequences, and I don't think he had anything to do with it. And he did say that he's going to sue him, and he's going to sue Fox too.
Yeah, I mean, and here's by the way what was said within that letter. Allegedly, they claim, again, no one believes this, but here it is. So it's a voiceover from a third person that Donald Trump wrote to Epstein. Donald, yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey, nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me last time I saw you. Trump, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. And you may be wondering, okay, Matt, where's the rest of it? Where's the beginning part of it? That's all. That's all they gave us. So apparently it starts out in the middle of a sentence, there must be more to life than having everything. Donald, yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. So they're implying that the more to life would be sleeping with girls on Epstein Island. That would be what they're implying. But I mean, even that, it could imply other things as well. It's just the dumbest thing ever. And the idea they sat on this, they waited for it. But also, it's just Trump, and it's not all of the other elites. I mean, it's so ridiculous, and it's so, I guess, demeaning that they believe we're stupid enough to fall for it. It makes me have whatever little respect I had left for the media is now officially gone, especially through the Wall Street Journal.
Well, that's good because President Trump did say that he's going to sue the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch. And we think they'll give him $787 million. And here's what he said. The Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Donald J. Trump that the supposed letter printed by President Trump to Epstein was a fake. And if they print it, they will be sued. Mr. Murdoch stated he would take care of it, but obviously did not have the power to do so. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Carolyn Levitt that President Trump that the letter was a fake. But Emma Tucker didn't want to hear that. Instead, They're going to, it's a false, malicious, and defamatory news story anyway. President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press has to learn to be truthful and not rely on sources that probably don't even exist. President Trump has already beaten George Stephanopoulos, ABC, 60 Minutes, CBS, and others, and looking forward to suing and holding accountable the once great Wall Street Journal. It has truly turned out to be a disgusting and filthy rag, and writing defamatory lies like this shows her desperate to remain relevant. If there was a truth in all the Epstein hoaxes pertaining to President Trump, the information would have been revealed by Comey, Brennan, Crooked Hillary, and other radical left lunatics years ago. It certainly would not have sat in a file waiting for Trump to have won 3 elections. And yet this is another example of fake news. Good for him. Good for President Trump. And Jeff said, hey, we now arrived at the place where we now don't even trust President Trump. And the answer is no, we haven't arrived there. That's what they want from you, because they want the narrative to go into 2026 that gives the Democrats the control, the majority control of the Senate and the House. So I'm not going to play into that at all. But I will tell you that one of the things that I think is most telling is if there was secrets to come out, and there were, grab them by the pussy, that came out, right? He said it, period, right? Did he mean it in a derogatory term of, doing something to assault another woman? No. Did the crazy woman in the middle of a super, what is it called, in the middle of a department store get raped in a room? I mean, that woman was a lunatic 25, 30 years ago, and she couldn't even remember the date. She couldn't even remember the year. And yet they found it to be defamatory based on that. I mean, it's just everything that happens is a direct result of this psyop of building distrust, especially when it actually favors the American people.
100%. Donald Trump is using the legal system that has been used against him so many times now to face justice against the people who have been lying about him. So it's fascinating to see that turn. He went from being someone who's about to go to prison, probably for the rest of his life, over lies and fake charges, to now someone who is in the most powerful chair on earth and is able to go after the people who lied about him with the same level of aggression if he chooses to. I wish he would go more aggressively on some other things as well, but at least on this, he's willing to be a little bit aggressive here.
Well,
There's also...
Well, I got to put this in there, right? I'm more and more irritated every day by people that put stuff out there and talk shit about me, period. Me, period. In other words, me, period. I'm more upset about that today than I think I ever have been. Not because I care what people actually say, but because of the fact that they get to just lie over and over and over again. Like the Javon Pulitzers, the Scott McMahon, these pieces of trash, zero leftists that stand up for people who concrete evidence shows that they did really bad things. They said really bad things. They talked about killing Americans. They talked about killing Trump. They talked about killing police officers. They talked about destroying the ethos of our nation. Those people did that. Eric did that. Eric Coomer did that in a lot more ways than just being on a call. But they stand up and they defend those people and they make up all these narratives. Someone has to be paying them. Someone. You do it to President Trump, you have the ability to kind of, he has the means by which I'm going to take the means, but he has the means by which to sue these people. I go out there and say, okay, I'm going to sue all these people. I'm going to sue all these people. And I walk in and they're like, well, Joe, they're media personalities. They're allowed to do it. So what's the difference then? Is he a media personality? Is the Wall Street Journal a media outlet? Are they allowed to, under anti-SLAPP, which is covered in most states, to lie with impunity? I mean, the conversation we had on the Friday where I asked you a question, you didn't like it, you left. They took that one little piece, less than 20 seconds, they played it on there and said, oh, this is what Joe did.
Who did that? Who took it?
Kyle Clark. Yeah.
Kyle Clark.
Yeah. 9 News right here in Colorado. Took it to that little deal. And it ran all the way across the country. So he got to lie about me and not talk about the substance of the show and use that to attack my fucking character, right?
Yeah, which by the way, I'm totally not okay with. I walked out because I felt like that's what I wanted to do because I was holding my baby. I want to take my baby home. But at no point did I think that Joe was intentionally trying to be bad. It was just something that was upsetting to me and I couldn't handle it. It wasn't, Joe was asking a question he's asked before. So the idea they're going to take that and use it against Joe is utterly preposterous. I mean, and I think anyone who's doing that should feel ashamed of themselves. The fact that they were watching and clipped it and then put it on the news. I mean, not only is it ridiculous, but it just goes to show you how corrupt and evil the people are who want bad things to happen to anyone who's willing to say the truth.
Yeah, and I don't think I could run away from President Trump now or ever and say that he doesn't deserve our loyalty, because I think he does. And he could make a couple more bad decisions before I'm ever going to say, hey, I'm a fair weather fan. But the people underneath him need to start doing the things that are necessary in order to protect Americans, and they're not doing it. Right. And for whatever reason, it's not happening. But he has every right to sue the Wall Street Journal. He has every right to sue them because they have made these innuendos. They have made these accusations out there in order to slander and sully his name. I just think that I find it appalling at the fact that I get, it's like the kids in the back area, like the schoolyard bullies that are back there saying, hey, this is how I would tell you about Joe. Oh, yes, they have Joe. It happens all the time. It's as if they create this environment, which is why Eric Coomer sued everyone around me. That's why he sued everyone around me for what I said. For what I said he did, jury finds me credible, but he sued everyone around me because he wanted to silence and he wanted to create an environment of fear. And yet those little clowns all the way around me, they fell for it. They decided, I got to get out. There's too much risk for me. And while I end up holding the bag. Had it not been for me, they never would have even looked into Dominion. There never would have been an audit in Arizona. And some of the reports that came out of all the other things that we have and the information we have, we never would have had any of it. None of it. I'm just pissed. But there was another True Social post, by the way. I think that's what you were getting to.
Yeah, probably even more of a zinger than the first one. He did use the word ass. So it's good when Trump uses the word ass. It's always a banger. Want me to read it? So he said the Wall Street Journal printed a fake letter supposedly to Epstein. These are not my words, not the way I talk. I talk like this. You can listen to me right now as I'm talking. Oh, sorry, don't draw pictures. The picture, by the way, was really stupid. It looked like a cartoonish kid drawing of a naked woman with big boobs. Really dumb stuff. I told Rupert Murdoch it was a scam, that he shouldn't print this fake story, but he did. Now I'm going to sue his ass off. And this, his third-rate newspaper, thank you for your attention to this matter, DJT. So that's what Trump said, which is great, because, by the way, I think Rupert Murdoch deserves anything bad that comes to him for some of the things that he has done. And I understand that prohibits me from ever going on Fox News. It means that if I ever want to do anything political in my entire life, I'll be attacked viciously by Fox News. And I totally stand by it, and I'm okay with it. I hope they do attack me. I think Fox News is benevolent to the evil. Benevolent to the evil. Yeah, there we go. That's the word. I think they are. I think they're part of it. They're part and parcel. I don't really have any more respect for Fox News than I do for CNN and MSNBC. It's the same thing all the way through.
Are you muted?
No, I'm not muted. Do you think Trump is going to win the lawsuit? I mean, it does seem like there is grounds, there's justification. They did almost certainly make this story up. So I don't. You can't just pretend like a letter exists when it doesn't, especially if you claim to be a journalist who's reporting on factual news and you report this and it's used against him. Trump is never going to run for office again. Doesn't really matter that much as on a personal level. Attacks on Trump's character, no one really cares. On a policy level is the only thing that will determine what happens within the next election cycle and what happens maybe even with Epstein files if we can get some of the elite pedophiles arrested. But besides that, I mean, none of this really matters. If we were in the middle of election cycle, you may look at this and be a little nervous. Oh, is this going to hurt Trump's polls? Is this going to hurt his approval rating? But at this point, nothing can really happen. So the only thing that we're looking for and watching for is Trump's own reputation and Trump's legacy, which if you care about that, then obviously this is a lawsuit that you very much are going to pay attention to and want Trump to win.
Yeah, the problem is good versus evil is kind of a seesaw, right? They allow good to evil or good to win for a little bit, and then they go back to evil. And it's incrementalism. And this is the same incrementalism we've been dealing with for several decades, and we want to ignore it. We want to talk past it and say it's finite, that President Trump needs to do it our way. Well, President Trump has never been a guy that is going to take advice from anybody singularly from the public. He didn't do it when he ran his own company. He would say, what's your advice? Okay, great. He would look at it, use his instincts, and he would make a decision. And I think he probably chose the wrong words when he talked about Epstein and it being a hoax. But the idea of why he was doing it just didn't align with why the public was pissed off about it. He didn't realize that. I think when he finally got to the point where he realized that this is why, this is actually the reason why people are upset. Nothing to do with Epstein. We don't care. Guy's dead. I hope he's rotting himself in hell, right? The victims, they got made whole financially, emotionally. But Virginia Guthrie, she deserves not to be like every other whistleblower and person out there and had to commit suicide because she was ridiculed with such fever that there was no way for her to get out. There was no way for her to have peace. There was no way for her to be financially, because they attacked her character. And she wrote an entire diary, and that diary was then attacked. And then the victims became the pariahs, and the pariahs became the ones that were actually revered. That's why she committed suicide. And the people we care about is the thousands of people that actually victimized Virginia and victimized people like Virginia. That's why we're pissed off. And that's why I think President Trump is finally coming around to the idea that, okay, give them everything that they want. I think I get it now. I think I get it. And so he's allowed to make mistakes. He is the commander in chief. I'm the CEO of multiple companies. And as the CEO of multiple companies, I make decisions. They don't like it, they can leave. And he uses that same sort of vernacular. I just think he should have done it sooner. Man, I'm on a roll today. RFK Jr. I think we need to switch gears because I think President Trump needs a break. I think we had to give him a little bit of air right now. Just let him kind of simmer in it.
Yeah, let him spend a few days in the retirement home with Joe Biden. Not permanently, he's obviously way sharper, but he can just let him get a few days there. A few days of rest, a few days of the nurses.
How about just on the golf course? He outplays golf. At his age, he outplays golf out of anybody around. He can hold his own against a pro golfer.
He's really good at golf, yeah.
You know who else is really good at golf?
Matt Wallace.
And who has two thumbs?
Matt Wallace, yeah. That's Joe Oldman. Okay, yeah, that works.
Yeah, I'm going to play golf tomorrow.
I don't know. Fifth place though, Joe. Fifth place. It's pretty. That's okay. It's not bad. I feel like you can get.
Bro, it was a scramble.
You can move up.
We did get because of me, we did get a eagle.
Okay.
So, I mean, we crushed it. You think
you could beat Trump in a back 18?
No, not at all. I don't play enough. But I can tell you this, I won't embarrass myself. I was hitting the ball 320 yards, and this is in Colorado weather. I mean, and something where you're like Florida, the air's heavier. If you hit a good 250, 260 yards there, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I've never even really played golf. I've done Top Golf, and
how the hell are you said you're talking trash that you're gonna? What is going on?
It's just because I'm an asshole. That's why there's no there's no other reason. I honestly have no justification at all to do that. It's just fun.
So JFK sounded the alarm on the WHO, and he said it's a Trojan horse to lead to digital health IDs and a global health database on every human being. This is unbelievable. Now this is 4 minutes long. We're out of the WHO, right? We got out of the WHO.
I believe we're partially out of the WHO, but at least there's been the order to fully remove ourselves from it, even though there are still ties within our government to the WHO. But I want to be entirely detached altogether, and I don't just want that. I want to destroy their funding in all capacities. They shouldn't have any jurisdiction over anywhere on earth. I don't care if it's a different country, if it's our country. Anyone who's listening to them is preposterously retarded and should be embarrassed for it and should be shunned and shamed for it endlessly until they stop listening to these psychopaths.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't know if I want to play the full video, but let's get out. Let's kind of start talking about it and see if it keeps our attention. Let's go play it.
Hello, everyone. This is your HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I want to speak to you today about a controversial issue that could directly impact you and your family during a global health emergency. Last year, the World Health Organization's governing body made some far-reaching amendments to its international health regulations, otherwise known as the IHR regulations. These regulations establish the legal framework that gives countries rights and responsibilities for managing public health events with global impact. The deadline to reject these amendments is next week, and we are rejecting them. So I'd like to explain to you why. The first reason is national sovereignty. Nations who accept the new regulations are signing over their power in health emergencies to an unelected international organization that could order lockdowns, travel restrictions, or any other measures it sees fit. In fact, it doesn't even need to declare an emergency. Potential public health risks are enough for it to initiate action. If we're going to give the WHO that much power, we should at least invite a thorough public debate, especially since the agreement is an official treaty and it bypasses the U.S. Senate, which plays a key role in ensuring major international commitments receive proper democratic oversight. To make matters worse, the new regulations employ extremely broad language that gives the WHO unprecedented power. They require countries to establish systems of risk communication so that the WHO can implement unified public messaging globally. That opens the door to the kind of narrative management and propaganda and censorship that we saw during the COVID pandemic. We don't want to see that kind of system institutionalized even further. The agreement also contains provisions about global systems of health IDs, vaccine passports, and a centralized medical database. It lays the groundwork for global medical surveillance of every human being. Maybe if the WHO were an infallible authority, untainted by industry influence, we would consider accepting the new regulations. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic demonstrated otherwise. During COVID, the WHO failed to enforce the international health regulations that were already in place for generations. China withheld critical information about the outbreak for at least a month and faced no real consequence or criticism from WHO. As the 2024 Congressional Oversight Report put it, the WHO was misinformed, denied access to China, and used as a cover for the Chinese Communist Party's reckless action. These and other atrocities make one thing clear. We must strengthen national and local autonomy to hold global organizations in check and to restore a real balance of power. Underneath all the bureaucratic language, what's at stake here is a vision for our future. Are we going to be subjects to a technocratic control system that uses health risks and pandemic preparedness as a Trojan horse to curtail basic democratic freedoms? Do we want a future where every person, every movement, every transaction, and every human body is under surveillance at all times? Now, I don't want to be too alarmist. The new regulations aren't in themselves medical totalitarianism. In fact, they were perhaps written with good intentions, but they are definitely a step in the wrong direction. That's why we're rejecting the amendments, not only on behalf of our own citizens, but the whole world. After all, America could simply ignore the WHO. But few other countries are as powerful as the United States. Even though many of these amendments are phrased to be non-binding, as a practical matter, it's hard for many countries to resist them, especially when they are dependent on the WHO funding and its partnerships. That's why we're taking leadership to stop an agreement that's bad for the entire world. I want to be clear that in rejecting these amendments, President Trump and I are not rejecting international cooperation. We can cooperate with other nations without jeopardizing our civil liberties, without undermining our Constitution, and without ceding away America's treasured sovereignty. That's my commitment to you. That's President Trump's commitment to you. Thank you, and God bless you all, and God bless our country.
Produced.
Well said. And by the way, we have a little bit of breaking news coming in out of Congress. A vote was just carried out. And this goes back to my point about the Babylon Bee video. It's essentially propaganda. Here's why. 422-6, Marjorie Taylor Greene proposed a bill to cut $500 million, which isn't even that much, all things considered, from U.S. funding to Israel's missile program. Why again are we funding their missile program when it's mostly being used in inappropriate ways? It's one thing to fund a secure border. I don't think too many people would have a problem with that, considering the fact that we don't want any country to be utterly and totally destroyed, obviously. But the idea that we can't cut $500 million when we're $37 trillion in debt, and the idea that it's going to be 422-6, the 6 people, by the way, who voted for it, the only 2 good people in all of Congress, in my opinion, at this current point in time, who aren't occupied. I mean, there are other good people. The only people who aren't occupied are Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, and then there were also 4 Democrats that agreed, which is Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. So the 2 that have ties to Islam in that case, and then Summerlee and Al Green. That was the only 6 people who had the cojones to say, I'm going to vote against a $500 million cut to Israel. Pretty pathetic, and it shows you that our entire government, the only thing they're really in unison on is protecting Israel. That's all they actually can agree on. Everything else is hearsay or a debate or something that doesn't matter enough because it only impacts our country and not foreign countries, I guess.
Well, I want to, no, you're absolutely right. I will. So it's not going to pass, obviously, because most people are going to vote against it, right? Because it's the United States of Israel. And this is where I get into not solving problems that we have fundamentally in the United States, and we look to solve problems in other countries first. And that's not a criticism of the fact that we shouldn't support Israel in some way if they're our ally, and we've got to make sure that there's no bully pulpit for other people to just swarm in on them. But you can't solve problems, pick fights, and then run and hide behind the United States. And you can't take over the United States infrastructure and everything about it and make it all about Israel. Because frankly, we're tired of it. We're tired of being the bully pulpit for Israel to use us as their tool. And that's created a slave culture that I think is very, very evident. A shout out to TD 480 for the Rumble rant. Thank you. I appreciate you very much for that on there. Feel free to drop some Rumble rants on us. We've got some other stuff that we're going to be building out, by the way, that I told you guys about before. Talk about that on Monday. So we have another Joe Biden deputy chief of staff pleads the fifth. His deputy chief of staff, Anna Tomasini, pleads the fifth testimony on his fitness to serve as president. Let's go ahead and play this real quick.
Republican out of Kentucky said this in a statement. It's a long statement. I'll just read one line. There is now a pattern of key Biden confidants seeking to shield themselves from criminal liability for this potential conspiracy. End quote there. We'll see who goes next. They have put out a series of videos later in the day of their witnesses pleading the fifth and sitting next to their attorneys. I would imagine Comer's committee is going to do the same thing at some point today as well. So that's the latest from.
How about that?
They're running scared. They are. The nervousness is starting to catch up to them. Maybe I'll get held accountable for my crimes.
I just want to push on Elon Musk to do something for me if he could, and that is to create a counter of anyone that was ever arrested and charged and went to jail for crimes against America, for committing treason, or for any other crimes related to the free-for-all. You want to know what the purge happened? You know, when they had the purge, you can go in and you can create a purge where you kill off a bunch of people, right? That's what they did in that 4 years. They killed millions of Americans. They covered up their crimes, sent billions of dollars overseas. They acted with impunity, persecuted people with absolute authority. And when it came down to pay the price right now, they plead the fifth. You should arrest them. You plead the fifth, great. Just hook them up right there. Set a precedent that comes from strength, not from weakness, and just step out and do the right thing. Annihilate the voting machine systems. Get rid of the mail-in ballots as a point of national security and, the sovereignty of a nation, which is right now at risk. And do so, and then fight backwards. Do the same thing that they did. Fight backwards. Let judges do whatever they're going to do, but put out an executive order that strips the ability of us to have machine voting and mail-in ballots, which are not transparent. Just the lack of transparency by itself should be enough. I keep asking whether or not I'm ever going to be inconsistent in me fighting over the last 5 years and talking about that on nearly every podcast. And I will tell you, it is the single most biggest thing that we have as a problem in our country, while China and other countries come in and just buy up all our land and treat us like slaves as well. It's duplicitous. Speaking of that, we did have China's richest man, Zhang Shengshen, has quietly picked off a large piece of land in New Hampshire, located right next to the state's water system, right next to it. This is unbelievable. Go ahead and play it.
Nashua, New Hampshire, once a hub for textile manufacturing, now a possible hub for the Chinese.
And you have the airport here. You have a water supply that they're looking to capture.
Communist China owning a building like this.
The latest Chinese concern is what's going here. China's largest beverage company, called Nung Fu, bought this industrial site next to the Penachuk water system where the area's drinking water comes from. Nung Fu would use the local water for their beverage plant.
Being tied into our Penachuk water system and taking millions of gallons a day of drinking water from the citizens of Nashua is very concerning.
What locals find most suspicious is what Nung Fu paid for the site, $67 million, more than 4 times the assessed value of just $15 million.
Were there any public meetings, or was there any sort of outreach? Did anyone know what was happening?
No, not at all. This seems to be kind of like the color of this building. This was done very stealthy.
So this is the massive site that Nung Fu bought. The building is pretty much abandoned. We can't fly the drone because it's so close to the airport, but I'm going to drive around the building to show you just how big it is. It's 337,000 square feet, sitting on 23 acres of land. And it's very close to the Nashua Airport, several defense contractors, and an FAA control center.
I had no idea, so I did some research both in English and Mandarin Chinese, which is my first language, and I was just shocked.
Lily Tang Williams fled Chinese communism and is now running for Congress in New Hampshire.
If you were in China speaking out like this, you would...
I disappear.
You would disappear.
Of course. I'm afraid if I go back, they let me go in, and they don't let me come out. I disappear, but they want me to shut up.
Williams says they want her to shut up about the Chinese soft power invasion and the national security concerns of projects like Nung Fu.
What is China trying to do when they buy up all of this land around America?
So I have been trying to warn people. Xi Jinping has a China dream. And his China dream is to use soft power invading of the United States.
Soft power invasion.
Soft power invading business and education, apps like TikTok, WeChat, and media, entertainment, everything they can without fire one shot to expand into Western countries like the United States.
The expansion in Nashua, New Hampshire goes beyond just Nung Fu. Something else strange, just a couple of miles from where we were, where the Chinese company purchased that building, is this abandoned college, Daniel Webster College. It's a 50-acre site, and it was also purchased by a Chinese investor about 7 years ago for $14 million. Much of the campus remains totally abandoned. The mayor of Nashua tells me that Chinese investor bought the college campus for double what it was worth. And now Nung Fu has come to town, paying 4 times the appraised value. He isn't against the project, but admits it's strange.
If the land was valued at like $15 million and they paid $67 million, I guess I'm still trying.
It's very weird. Why they would do that, I have no idea.
I mean, have you heard anything?
No. It's very puzzling as to why that would happen.
And so, Leland, the mayor says he doesn't have any national security concerns. He says the city will not sell the actual water company, but everyone here is wondering why that Chinese company would pay 4 times the assessed value, why the area near the watershed, and then also the college campus.
Money laundering. Money laundering.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. It's money laundering. And look, you can't go to other countries and just buy up land. You can't go to China right now and just buy up land. You can't do it. You would not be allowed to do it. But the United States is an open area for people to come in and do whatever they want. That woman you just saw is running for Congress, and she fled the CCP. and is trying to warn all of us that they're conducting a soft invasion of the United States. There's roughly 7,500 people in the United States that are in office, not counting judges, which are mostly owned by a vast majority of them. Vast majority meaning over 40% are of the godless atheist club, but trying to warn us about what's happening. We're being attacked from every side. And sometimes those interests align. Let's go and play it.
I had no idea. So I did some research both in English and Mandarin Chinese, which is my first language. And I was
okay. We already played that one.
Tang Williams fled Chinese communism and is now running.
We already played. Okay, let's take that down. All right, we won't play that one. It's just good. It is. I got that in my ear. There we go. We're at the end of our show, bro. It was a good show today. I was on fire today.
Was a good show today. And I do want to just make a quick joke here that it's a little ironic that she's warning us about the soft power Chinese invasion, which we appreciate, obviously. Thank you for doing that. While at the same time, she did her own soft invasion of our country by coming here. Probably legally, I would guess. So
well, she came here legally, but she was.
Did she?
Yeah, she came here and fled persecution in China, right? I'm all about bringing people here to the United States that have that want a better life, that want to assimilate to the way that we do things here. I'm not as what's happened today though is that we have this evil, which I brought up today, and I'll just kind of put it out there. This evil that we face across the world that has grown so dramatically that somewhere along the line, Satanists can put their awards to people like the governor of Minnesota, the Satan's Club, put an award, and he actually put it out there and said, "Oh, the Church of Satan." And you have people that are talking about, they're openly talking about doing bad things to Americans and getting away with it. And
the idea that China can come in and buy land at all is pretty preposterous.
Well, today I said something online. I woke up this morning. I don't know why I was thinking about it. Probably because I tend to think about stuff like this. But I talked about the craziness of the CERN collider, right? The LHS, which is the CERN collider. It's the biggest one. It's 17 miles. The loop is 17 miles. And I basically said this. What are the chances that the CERN collider is responsible for the ridiculousness and the massive evil we face today? A portal of sorts that lets evil pour over the world. Because you can't argue with the fact that it's gotten out of hand. The ridiculous has been something we're now having conversations with daily. Stick with me here. As they try to recreate the conditions right after the Big Bang at the beginning of the universe, their entire theory is that this is where matter was created. And that from this, human and ecological existence began. They say it took 14 billion years for humans to exist. My question is how? How did they come to the conclusion? Who woke up one day and said, "Hey, let's act like God and recreate the universe. Let's tell the world God does not exist. It's happening. The only thing is who and what is behind it." That would explain a lot. And then I wrote this part because everyone actually equates this saying with the Kevin Spacey movie, and that is this is Charles Baudelaire. My dear brother, never forget when you hear the progress of wisdom vaunted, that the cleverest ruse of the devil is to persuade you that he does not exist. And that's where we're at right now. We're at a place where they're trying to convince us that the devil doesn't exist, and now we're fighting each other like crazy. And as we go into this weekend and we try to just kind of disconnect from it on the social media side and come to some sort of clarity about what's happening, by the time we get to Monday, we're still in the fog. And we never seem to see the hand that's right in front of us. So I do want to leave everyone a little bit of hope. And here's the hope. We pray, we stand, we speak, we act, right? We do the things that are necessary. We act with absolute strength, and then we let God handle the rest. We're only told that we have to do those 4 things. We're only told that we have to bring it to him. We have to then stand up with courage. Then we have to speak with courage, and then we have to act with courage. That's it. That's it. Judges 7.
Well said. I guess with that, I'll go ahead and pray us out.
Right.
Dear Lord, as we continue to see things unfolding around us that by all appearances seem to be as evil as it can possibly be, as we watch and see children that are being hurt and put in harm's way and people who proudly stand by it, allow us to be able to fight against that in every way that we are capable of, and allow us to be able to see a clear vision for what to do and how best to combat it. Amen.
Amen. Somebody just said, hey, I'd really like to put, do a Rumble rant as well. Again, thank you to TD. Here's how you can actually contribute. There's a little button over there that says the thumbs up on Rumble. Hit the share button. You can grab it. You can grab the deal and hit the share button on there and share it to your socials. We get shadow banned more than anybody else. I think I've proven that now to Matt. I think he believes it. On every channel. And by the way, I'm back up to 11.7, which is weird. So you go from 19 to 15.3, stays there for a bit, then goes down to 9,600. And now within 2 days, I'm up to 11.7 again. So I do want to thank everyone for following me personally and for following the Untamed Nation. We're going to get to the bottom of it. Hit the thumbs up. Whatever channel you're on, whether you're on Pilled or Facebook, or if you're on the website, just know that you're the ambassadors of truth. And if you like us, share us, give us a 5-star review, and check us out on the audio version as well. That's it.
And with that, we'll see you tomorrow.
Just kidding.
It's Saturday. We'll see you on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great weekend, Joe. Have a great weekend to everyone who's watching, and we'll see you then.
All right. God bless you all.